Welcome to episode 786, Pablo Legorreta, 9 lessons. This is an outline of episode 786, lesson 1 to lesson 5. This is lesson 6 to lesson 9. Lesson 1, the golden age of biotech.
In the golden age of biotechnology and the golden age of medical research, academic research, hospital research.
So from a societal perspective and investor perspective, scientists, companies, I think there's a very important reflection that we need to make about allocation of resources. And I think the excitement that we're seeing here is correct. The advances in overall survival, responsive survival for patients has been dramatic.
Lesson 2, don't do conventional biotech drug development.
Now, what do? We do not discover, develop, manufacture, or market biopharmaceutical products. Instead, we invest in royalty interests in marketed and late-stage biopharmaceutical products, and we finance late-stage clinical development for royalties.
Lesson 3, win-win for everyone.
About how we get involved with academic institutions. When they discover things, we come, acquire royalties. We did a great deal in New York City with Memorial Sloan Kettering years ago. And, one interesting anecdote is that the money that they got from us went to fund the biggest research center in New York City, a huge building in the Upper East Side.
Lesson 4, securitization of risks.
So let's look now at the rationale of why this transaction made sense for them and for us. Perspective, they had a big problem, which was a huge concentration of risk. This was a very significant component of the institution's financial assets. So by monetizing a portion of this asset, they diversified. They also were able to finance a portion of a building, or used a portion of the proceeds to finance a building, which has become a very important research center in New York City. And in addition, by receiving a royalty interest in Royalty Pharma, they converted what was a wasting asset with a finite life into an interest in an ongoing business that will produce dividends and value for Memorial Sloan Kettering for a much longer period of time.
Lesson 5, smaller clinical trial is the future.
Change the way we develop drugs. We're not going to be running these giant clinical trials. We're going to have drugs that work on much smaller subsets of the population.
Which is personalized medicine. If we're able to narrow the patient population for which a drug might be very efficacious and safety would be tolerable by looking at this smaller patient population with a therapy, and if that ends up happening, then the cost will be smaller because we're actually doing smaller trials.
Lesson 6, United States is still the best place to invest for biotech.
By Asia, who's going to be the leader in demonstrating that a new regulatory regime is far more effective than the old?
So I think it will be led by the US and Europe, which is really an ecosystem that has been built over the last 50, 60 years of academic institutions that are very involved in medical research, with scientists that have been working together for years, venture capitalists that come in and fund academic research, capital markets that are sophisticated enough in this country to actually provide the money.
Risk capital.
Lesson 7, avoid hit or miss.
Private enterprises financing it. Is anybody making any money here, Pablo?
It's a hit and miss industry, and yes, companies make money. Biotechs, it's sort of a history of rags and riches.
Lesson 8, late-stage investing.
They fund in late-stage clinical trials. So it's very interesting because they do go into more low-risk but potentially high-reward paying drugs because they are late-stage clinical trials.
Lesson 9, how big is the biotech pie? For all of us, the question is this the next big wave?
Over the years, as this ecosystem has been transformed, is that we now have one of the biggest industries in the world. It's a $1.1 trillion industry when you look at sales of pharmaceutical products. When you compare this to other industries, you can see that it's really large. It's about 1.5 times the entire airline industry. It's about 4 times the computer the laptop industry. So really big and important for the world. I would tell you that with the experience we have in this industry, because this is the IMS forecast, that I think it's going to grow, at this kind of rates for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your questions and comments below. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.